Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks, Shane.
We'll start with Dave, and then we'll go to Jimmy.
Hey Nick, early in the season when things weren't going as well and you were facing a lot of personal criticism, how were you able to trust in yourself and your process?
Yeah, you don't pay too much attention to anything except for your process, and just try to stick to that. Um, that's what we talk about all the time. I say that to the players all the time, and if it's in a scenario like that, if I'm not practicing what I preach, then those are just words, not actions. And so our culture, our habits are about our actions, not just our words, or not our words, but our actions, and you just try to live by that.
We'll go to Jimmy, and then Jeff.
Hey, Nick. Last couple of years, you've had to prepare for Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence all the time, of course. Just curious, how you think Jaylen Carter compares to guys of that level, and then also just what do you think of the way he played yesterday?
Yeah, he did a lot of good things yesterday. A lot of things that we need to clean up. That's our all of us as a team. A lot of good things we did, and a lot of things we need to clean up. And Jalen's part of that, but definitely did a lot of good things. I don't get into the comparison thing with him, and Jaylen Carter's Jaylen Carter, and we're happy he's on this football team and he's playing the way he's playing, and with the effort and the toughness and the skill that he's playing with. You know, different when you go and you're actually game planning against a guy, and you gotta any play that guy makes, you'll have to think about that. But we obviously don't do that with Jaylen, and because we don't have to game plan against them. So I stay away from the comparison. Jaylen Carter's had a really good year, had a really good game yesterday, and we're looking for him to continue to grow as a player.
We'll go to Jeff, and then Brooks.
Nick, you've had versions of Vic Fangio's scheme here. I know you had him in as a kind of a consultant for a year, but now that you have him in the building and you see and hear him how he calls plays, what difference has he brought to the defense this year?
Yeah, he has a really good feel of how to call the game. I really feel that he's always on top of it. Has a good feel for what's coming. Have a good feel for how he needs to adjust, how he needs to adapt. A ton of he's obviously done a great job of leading the defense in so many aspects, and so yeah, so happy that he's here, and that we have one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL as our defensive coordinator. I can't say enough good things about him and what he's brought to this team and what he's brought to this defense. And yeah, ecstatic that he's our defensive coordinator, and look to continue to grow as a team. And I know Vic will continue to do the things he needs to do to continue to excel at his position. And I think that's what's so cool about Vic is that he's been a defensive coordinator for a long time, and sometimes and he just is always looking to grow and always looking for new trends and different things like that. So can't say enough. There's a reason why he's been a good defensive coordinator for decades in this league, is because he's always growing and always getting better. And again, that's what we want our players to do, and he's constantly doing that. And what a great example for our players.
We'll go to Brooks, and then Chris.
Yeah, to follow up on Vic, just obviously you'd probably want to be physical in whatever system you run, but how does it particularly show up in the way that Vic runs with this defense, the players that you have to game plan towards the physicality you wanted on Sunday?
Yeah, like you said, any style of defense you're playing, physicality shows up with how you play the game within your fundamentals, right? And so when we talk about being physical, we talk a lot about how you tackle and the hits that you get on as you tackle, and being fundamentally sound with that. If you're not taking the right angles, or if you're leaving your feet too early, it's hard to be physical. And so it's about taking the right angles. It's about running through contact. And so you talk a lot about that in your tackling. You also talk a lot about that with how you get off blocks, and how you beat blocks. where you really can show your physicality in that. You talk about, your physicality with how you take the football away, and how aggressively you are at the football. And then finally, one thing that is huge for your physicality is your effort and your relentless effort to the football, to get those extra hits. Chauncey had some extra hits on ball carriers yesterday because he was flying to the football. Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith continuously fly to the football, and as the guy's going down, they get legal hits on the player that's on their way down, because that's where you can jar balls out. When the guy's going to the ground. And so again, that's where you talk about it a lot on defense, is your style of fit. Your style of physicality could be through any scheme, but you talk about it through your fundamentals, and guys being physical as a nature of who they are too as people. Nolan Smith's physical. He was physical in college. He didn't just turn physical. He was physical in high school, and I imagine he was physical when he played Pee Wee football. And so those are huge. That's huge to have guys like that on your team that seek out to hit and want to hit, and know the way the game changes when you deliver hits.
We'll go to Chris and then John.
Afternoon, Nick. When it comes to Isaiah Rodgers, when you look at how would you assess the way that he played yesterday, and how has he either played up to the role, exceeded, what have you? How is he to the role that was given to him previously during the season?
Yeah, I thought Isaiah played a solid game yesterday and did a lot of good things yesterday. Made that 2 tackles that were big on the sideline, on our sideline. One on Lamar on a 3rd down that put him into 4th and 1, and then another one on Hill. On the sideline where Chauncey kind of came up and forced the play, and he came up and made a good low tackle on Hill, and then did some good things in covering. I think that Isaiah, was off football for a while, and then he's came back, and he's given us a lot of good plays. I think that with Isaiah, you have an against Cincinnati, he has a caused he comes in for a brief moment in Cincinnati and creates a pass breakup that creates an interception for Chauncey. He comes in against he comes in with Tampa on a field goal block, or pardon me, an extra point attempt, and he blocks the kick that Keeley returns for a touchdown. He comes in for a couple plays when Slay was out in Los Angeles game, and creates a fumble that changes the tide of that game. And then yesterday, on back to field goal block, you can see him come off the edge on one of the misses that Tucker had. He comes off the edge, and he's right in the picture. That's unsettling. That's when a kicker sees that and has that vision of a guy, and that's unsettling. And we put a lot of stock into that. And so Isaiah's made has had games where he's been really steady, but then he's made these splash plays that have really helped us this season. And so I think he's done some really nice things. We're really happy that we have the depth that we have at corner, with Isaiah being the first guy off the bench, and he's given us great minutes, and he's earned the playing time that he's had. And so Isaiah's done a great job, and we're sure happy to have him.
We'll go to John and then Tim.
Afternoon, Nick. Just talking about Vic a little bit there. On the other side, Kellen, I think a lot of people kind of looked at him and where he was before, and maybe it looks a little bit different. What can you say about him and building the offense around the talent he has now, and how he's been able to morph his scheme, his system?
Yeah, I would say that's what good coaches do. They work to the talents of their players, right? I was always taught players formation plays, and so you're always thinking about that. You're always thinking about your players, and that's what Kellen's done a great job. He's just done what we need to do to win football games, and so but that doesn't mean that when we need to throw it 50 times, we won't do that. We'll do that. I know Kellen will adjust to how the game's going. I think him and the offensive staff have worked so well together. He's got Doug here with him, who's been with him a long time. But I love the relationship that Kellen and Kevin Patullo have. Kellen Stout and Amo, and like Kellen's just done a great job of using the guys we have, using the players that we have, building relationships with our players, that are his players, and man, he's done a great job, and he can, of how he's very in control in the game of how he calls it, has a feel for how it's going, what he should do in certain moments. I've been very impressed watching Kellen call and lead the offense.
We'll go to Tim and then Martin.
Hey, Nick, playing off your post-game speech where you said, we're working tomorrow to the players and you got a positive response from them in that moment. What went into you implementing what seems like an increased workload during the week for the players, and why is that important to the fabric of your team?
Just so you continue to get better. I think, you always look at each season, and every year you're adjusting to the team that you have. Same thing we just talked about with the offense. Like every year is different. Like, so one schedule doesn't fit all, right? And so what you used in 21 or 22 doesn't necessarily mean what you should use in 24. And if you look at 22 and how healthy we were, I think that's something that you could very much look upon and be like, this is the way to do it. Well, there's different factors with a 2022 team as a 2024 team, the experience, things like that. And so there are things that you need to, continue to get better at. And that's just about getting better each day. And sometimes it is to put the pads on and work on Wednesday. Sometimes it is to give them a walkthrough on Wednesday. Sometimes it's a somewhere in the middle of both things. So it's just, our guy, what I love about this football team, this team is determined. It's hungry. It's so locked in and focused. And I think back to last week when you have, when you have different things and different schedules that could be a distraction. I just felt like our team was so locked in, focused on Thursday. I keep calling Thanksgiving such a good holiday, and I keep calling it a distraction, but it is. For me, it is until the end of the day. And so our guys were just so locked in, and then they came back on Friday, and it was just, again, where there's a possibility of not being locked in, bam, they were locked in again. And then, I know there's times that you want a victory Monday, and the guys want a victory Monday, but this team's so determined, they're hungry, they're locked in, they're laser focused that, they wanted to work, we wanted to work, and, today's a big day. And there's time and place for Victory Monday. I don't want to be next week I give a victory, or a couple weeks we give a Victory Monday. And it's every time, everything has a little bit of a reason why, and you can go off schedule. But a big part of the process is reviewing the tape, seeing the things that you did well, seeing the things that you didn't do well, getting the guys in here to refresh their bodies and kind of get the flush of a lift and everything like that. I mean, a lot of those things go into it. And again, love the fact that this team just wants to work, put their head down and work.
We'll go to Martin and then Ruben.
And Nick, yesterday in your press conference, you said that you're boring. Is that something you kind of had to learn to become? And how good is it to be boring? I mean, what are the advantages of that?
Yeah, I think just what I meant is just like that it takes what it takes. I love when Jaylen says that. Winning takes what it takes. Success takes what it takes. The grind takes what it takes. And it's not like this aha moment. It's just putting your head down and working. And that might not always make for the most glamorous story, but it's the work, it's the hard work that gets results. And that's all we're trying to do is be hungry, be humble, and put our head down and work.
We'll go to Ruben and then Zach.
Hey, Nick, I wanted to ask about Tristan McCollum, a guy that hasn't played a whole lot since he got here last year. What have you seen behind the scenes from him that gave you the confidence to have him in that? Obviously, he was the next guy up, but what have you seen from him behind the scenes over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I thought he had a really, we got him, and he's just a really good athlete, fast, physical, and then everyone here thought he had a great training camp. It gave us a lot of confidence. He's been a special teams contributor because of that athletic ability and his toughness. And then yesterday he's put into a situation where he's got to go in and compete. He makes a huge fourth down. PBU where he's close to the receiver and can get a pass breakup. He makes a couple big tackles. One on Derrick Henry, who's a phenomenal football player, where he kind of got through the first and second level of our defense, and then here comes Tristan and runs his feet through contact and gets a knockback tackle and to the side tackle. And so, just again, great athletic traits, tough, dependable. And so it was as bummed as you are to see Reed go out and you're bummed about that, but always cool when the guys take advantage of their opportunities and go in there and make plays. And that's what Tristan was able to do yesterday.
Thank you.
We'll go to Zach and then Olivia.
Hey, good afternoon, Nick. It seemed every day this spring or summer, players were talking about conditioning. Same thing with you, position coaches. 12 weeks in or 12 games into the season, how have you seen that materialize?
We talk a lot about playing with relentless effort. It's impossible to play with relentless effort unless you're in great physical shape. And so you see our guys fly around to the football. You see a Grant Calcaterra running to the football that can, scoop up a loose ball on a fumble. You see crazy pursuit to the ball on a screenplay that they had yesterday, where there's 8 guys in white jerseys, around the ball yesterday. We're able to get the stop. You see, Paris Campbell and Jahan Dotson run a run where Saquon gets the touchdown yesterday. You can't do that unless you're in great shape. And so that's been an emphasis. Our strength and conditioning coaches have done a great job of stimulating things, because you also got to be aware of their legs. But they've done a great job of simulating things that really get their heart rate going and put them in game-like scenarios without taxing their legs, before and after practice, Wednesdays and Thursdays. And the guys do a great job of pushing themselves in that, and also getting the extra work on their own, not just stuff that they do in practice or in the weight room, but the stuff they do extra to get better. And so being in great shape, again, if you want to play, and we say this a lot, if you want to play with great detail, like where your fundamentals are on and you know what to do and you're in the right spot, being tired creates mistakes. And so, and not being in good shape creates mistakes. And if you want to play with great effort, you have to be in great shape. And and I feel like, we'll continue to work to be in good shape, because that's a constant quest, is to make sure your bodies are ready to go and that you can run all day. But again, can't say enough for the guys of how they've pushed themselves, our strength and conditioning staff for how they've pushed them, and our coaches for how they've pushed them to get that extra work. But all the credit goes to those guys that their bodies are weighing what they're supposed to weigh, and they're where they need to be, and they're getting the extra conditioning so they can go that little extra bit to make plays early and late in the game.
We'll finish with Olivia here.
Hey, Nick, I was just wondering what the latest is on Dallas Goedert and his injury, and if he has to miss any portion of time. What you've seen recently from Grant Calcaterra, he has continued to evolve into a bigger role and even into a bit of a fullback role as well in the absence of Ben.
Yeah, we're still in the evaluation phase there. We'll have more information for you guys as the week continues. But, obviously you saw Dallas not come back in for a little bit yesterday. We know Grant is as Dallas has had to miss some time a little bit this year, unfortunately. Grant's done a nice job of really making plays, not just like, I think last year, if you go back last year, if Dallas missed a little bit of time last year, you didn't see some production from the tight ends. We kind of spread that around a little bit, gave AJ a couple more touches, gave Devontae a couple more touches, put 4 wide into the game a little bit more. And I think what Grant's done is just given everybody the confidence in him that you can stay 11 personnel, you can still keep those plays in for Grant because he can contribute. And not that we didn't believe that last year. It's just like he's just giving you the belief that, hey, I'm gonna make a play if you throw me the football, and if you have some things designed for me in this game. And so that's where Grant gives you confidence, is his growth as a football player. A lot of credit to Jason Michael as tight end coach and Grant himself of how hard he's worked. And that room, I love that room. That room really cares about helping each other get better. Like, that's a great room of teammates right there with Dallas and with Grant and with CJ and with EJ. They push each other hard, and they you know, they're their biggest fans in that room as they make plays, and it's cool to see. And so a lot of confidence if Dallas is to miss any time again early in the evaluation process. Not ready to go there yet about anything there, but you know, if you know that Grant's ready to step up again like he had earlier in the season.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Thanks, everybody.